people, welcome to my new video. How are you doing today? If you ask me, I'm doing fantastic, and that is because I'm gonna travel twice in the next month, and traveling just makes me really happy. So this morning I booked an Airbnb for one of those two trips, and then I realized that I've booked Airbnbs quite a lot in the past few years. In fact, I have stayed in an Airbnb 18 times since 2014, and today I just want to tell you a few things that I really like about Airbnb. Also, sorry that I'm wearing a hat and that I'm hiding half of my face, but it's bad hair and bad face day today, and I just don't care enough to fix it, so I just thought First of all, some information about Airbnb in case you don't know what it is or what it does. Airbnb is a platform where people can put their rooms, apartments, houses online for rent, and then travelers can rent these accommodations for a short period of time. That can be just for a night or for several months. I know that there's been quite some controversy about Airbnb, and hotels are getting mad because Airbnb is stealing their guests from them. And I think New York even has its own restrictions. I think the people in New York are not allowed to rent their homes for less than 30 days or something like that, I don't know. But still, I really enjoy staying at Airbnb, apartments, rooms, houses, whatever. And so I want to tell you why. The first thing is, I will call it curiosity about other cultures and homes. That's not a catchy name, I know, but I can't think of another name. I don't know if that's weird, but I find it extremely interesting to see how people live. Like, I always get really excited when I go to a friend's place for the first time. It's basically the same with Airbnb, because you stay at the host's own home. So for me, it's very interesting to see how a person lives, but then also you're usually in another country, so you have the curiosity, how does this person live factor, and you also have, whoa, I'm in a foreign country and I'm already very curious about how people live there. And you have these two things combined. I don't know if that makes sense. And that's just very interesting for me to see how other people in other cultures live.
I wrote some stuff down and I'm reading it right now.
The second thing is, let's call it intercultural communication, because that sounds fancy. When I started using Airbnb, I used to only book rooms in a person's apartment or house, so I actually lived with the host together, and I only had like my own bedroom, but I shared the kitchen, the living room, and all that stuff. But in my more recent trips, I preferred to book the whole apartment or the whole house, mostly because in the past few months I've been traveling in groups, and then it's just more comfortable to have the whole space for your own when you're already 4 or 5 people. But it doesn't really matter if you book just a room and live with the host, or if you book the whole apartment or house. You have to interact and you have to communicate with the host. So when you book the accommodation, do I even say this correctly? I don't know. So I will just keep saying it, and then I don't care if I say it wrong. So if you book the whole accommodation, you are already in contact with the host and you meet that person when you check in. Sometimes the people also leave the key somewhere or in a key box or something, but usually you meet the host and they will show you around in the apartment. The hosts are usually very friendly people, and they always tell you that you can ask them anything and call them, message them whenever you need anything. And what I think is really cool is that you are talking to a local, so they can give you advice about the neighborhood, or they can tell you what stuff you really have to do in that city. It's just nice to know that if you have questions, then there's somebody that can probably answer them and help you out. The third thing that I like about Airbnb is that you are alone. let's call it a benefit for introverts. Of course, being alone can also be a bad factor, but I am an introvert and I am quite shy, so even though I love getting to know new people, it's also kind of hard for me to really have a conversation with people that I don't know, because I always need some time to really open up and get going. So when you compare Airbnb to a hostel, for example, I love staying at hostels as well, but in hostels you always, or at least I feel that way, I always feel like I always have to be ready for a conversation, because there are so many people, open-minded people, people who want to get to know other people, and everybody's talking with each other, and that's amazing, that's great. Like, whenever I'm at a hostel, I really enjoy this, and I enjoy that there's a bunch of people from all around the world living together, but it can also get quite exhausting for somebody like me. So when I've been out exploring a new place the whole day, then I just like to come home and relax and just have my peace and quiet. But it also kind of goes vice versa. So when you book the whole Airbnb, you don't have to consider other people who are, for example, sleeping. So you don't have to be quiet because there's no other people except you and your friend or friends. Okay, number 4 is, let's call it get what you pay for. I don't know where all these names come from. I'm kind of proud of myself. You can rent Airbnbs in every price range. I try to keep my trips as cheap as possible, but as I said, I also like to have some time alone, and I can get both of these things at Airbnb for a fair price. So even if you book the whole apartment or even the whole house, it's usually still quite affordable because the amount of money gets divided by the amount of people that you travel with. Also, if you're on a higher budget and you're looking for something fancy, you can absolutely get that at Airbnb as well, because damn girl, what I've seen on Airbnb, seriously, you can book the most insane houses. I have never done this because I don't have money for that, but yeah, it's really insane, and someone please give me money. Number 5 on my list kind of goes hand in hand with living in another person's home, wanting to have some time alone, and also trying to not spend too much money. So whenever I'm traveling, I try to not spend too much money on food. So what I do, I usually buy food at grocery stores and then make my own food at home instead of going out for dinner every day. I mean, of course, I go out for dinner as well, but it's so expensive. Since you're living in someone else's home, there are usually essentials for cooking like oil, herbs, spices and all that you can use, and that is really cool because firstly you save money, and also you really feel like you're at home when you have a kitchen and when you can just prepare meals. And wow, when I was traveling on my semester abroad with my friends, a friend of ours, she cooked the most insane meals in Airbnbs, so that's absolutely possible. And yeah, that's something that I really enjoyed. Oh, does that make sense? I'm just talking and I don't know if anyone understands me. But we arrived at my last reason why I like Airbnb. One of the big questions about Airbnb is it safe? And in my opinion, it is pretty safe. So as I've said, I've stayed in Airbnbs 18 times, and only one of them wasn't that great. In fact, it wasn't anything because it didn't exist. I might actually do a whole video about this one bad Airbnb experience because it was a lot. What I'm trying to say is one bad experience compared to 17 good ones. Hi neighbor, this is not weird at all. Is not that much. yeah. But also, if something like that really happens, Airbnb's customer service is incredible. The person from Airbnb that helped me in that situation was just extremely friendly, nice, patient with me, and really did his best and did all he could do and more, so that Luca and I could find another place where we could stay. So yeah, I will do another video about that one story, so I can explain everything in detail. So, would I recommend Airbnb? You can probably already guess the answer. Yes, I would totally recommend Airbnb, especially to open-minded, flexible, young people, but also to families who are looking for a place where they can stay and where they just have their own space for the parents and the kids. I do have to admit that I would not use Airbnb if I'm traveling completely alone, but if you're at least 2 people, it's usually a pretty good choice. There are people walking everywhere. Don't stare at me. Okay, that's it with this video. If you have any questions about Airbnb or my experiences with Airbnb or whatever, you can ask me in the comments. And my question for you today is, let me think of one. Why do I never think of that in advance? I want to know if you have ever had either a very good or a very bad Airbnb experience, or a very weird, good, bad, insane travel experience in general that you want to tell us about. Tell us. I'm more people. People never answer my questions, but I don't care. As I said in my previous video, I will just keep asking questions, and maybe sometime in the future somebody will answer the question that I ask. But until then, I don't care. I will just keep doing what I'm doing. If you want to see more of me, you can click subscribe here in this nice little bubble here, and I'm very excited to see you hopefully very, very soon in another place and another time. Goodbye, people. Have a nice day.